This is what we talked about in 2020, 2021, and we completely lost the plot. I mean, Bankless is called Bankless for a reason. Now they just talk about how awesome Tom Lee is whenever he buys an ETH.
Mining stocks make sense. Several of those things make sense. The DATs really never made sense to anyone who was crypto native. It just seemed like a weird, pointless financial instrument.
Unless something fundamentally changes about the structure of crypto markets and the type of market participants, capital inflows, etc., it is going to be BTC and a very selected portfolio of altcoins. GM, and welcome back to this, is it a Black Monday edition of the Odyssey Pod? We're joined by our frequent guest Juri, as well as our special guest Danny. How are you two guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing great, man.
Sorry,
Good
you
to
go
see you.
first.
Doing great. Super cold here in the US. So just chilling, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Max. Yeah, also doing great. Actually, I haven't followed price action too much, so please show the chart. I'm not completely in a loop right now, but I saw some headlines about what is happening right now. So curious to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the summary is that sentiment and price is pretty much in the gutter. While I'm pulling up CoinGecko, before the pod, we just had a very interesting and very timely discussion because now we're all poor, but we were discussing whether airport lounges and flying business class is worth it. So what's your guys' 1 minute take on these topics?
You go first, Danny.
I go first?
Yeah.
With lounges, it's a little bit different because you could just get in with your credit card. I think that the lounge is almost always worth it. And I think business and first class is almost never worth it. You know, it's for the amount of time that you're in the air, dude, I just can't ever justify it. You know, it's one of those things where it's you're saving $4,000 or $5,000 for 8 hours in a less comfortable seat. But I've been, I'm an old man now, almost 40. I've been traveling internationally since I was a little kid. And so I always sort of got used to it, always got in the right headspace. And just even if it's a flight to Asia or something, it's okay, this is going to suck. Just suck it up. Who cares? And then now that I am older and probably could buy business and first class tickets sometimes, I still don't. I mean, there's always if you can get a $200 upgrade and you just see it on the app, yeah, of course, 100%. But for me, no, it's one of those things you just have to keep a few things in life where you're okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to be wise with my money in a few different ways, and so for me, I'll probably never buy a sports car and try not to fly first or business. Just suck it up.
Yeah, my take is strongly depends, but let's start with that. If you think of getting a credit card just to enter a lounge, I would highly not advise doing that, because most of these credit card lounges just suck these days. They are completely overcrowded. There's nothing premium about it, and it's really not a nice place to hang out. Just a very good example. When I had my 2 hours layover or something in Sao Paulo when flying from Lisbon to Buenos Aires, I saw the lounge I could have access to, and I said, no fucking way. So I went to the TGI Fridays because it was a restaurant that was almost empty, plus the food was better. So whatever. So yeah, lounges depends. If you plan to get a credit card and then get the lounge access, I wouldn't do that. I just do have a American Express credit card because of all of the other benefits. When I spend money, it's nice to get a cashback on it. So it's a very useful tool, at least in Germany. I don't know how it's about what's about in the US. And business class depends. So I agree. I wouldn't spend a fortune on it. But if you get a smart deal, book super in advance or bidding on it, in the auction in this auction procedure where you can, I don't know, bid $100 or something, then it's definitely worth it because you acquire airline points if you're loyal to an airline. Plus, sleep is the most important thing. So for a long haul overnight flight, I would always try to look for opportunities. But long haul, like in a day flight, I don't see the value of it. But for a night haul, 100%.
It's
Man,
true about the
you're deep in
lounges.
the
Like,
game there.
sorry, go
Huh?
ahead.
You're deep in the game there, Juri.
Yes. That's, but it's different if you can deduct the cost and like have like one airline you stick to, and then you have like your own kind of strategy. But I would never ever go and say, oh, let's spend like 3K on a business class flight. Never ever I would do that.
Yeah.
But if there's like the chance to shoot it for like a couple of $100 more, and you get like the benefits and deduct it from tax anyway, like that's quality of life. No.
This is how hardcore I am. My wife upgraded. We just went to Ecuador, and she upgraded to first class, and I refused. So she sat in first class the whole time, and I sat in the back.
Fellow raccoon traveling hardo here.
Yeah, exactly. But it is true about the lounges. And what's weird is that happened like within the last 2 years. I've been using the lounges forever. And the last 2 years, like the Amex lounge is so crowded and so like weird and annoying. And then you just end up being like with people who like feel like they're owed something and are like really annoying and stuck up. And it's crowded. You know what I mean? So you're just crowded with like annoying people. So yeah, I totally agree there. It's not. It used to be worth it, like even like 2 years ago, and now it's more obnoxious, and it's better just to find a good restaurant.
Yeah, I was stuck in Atlanta airport for 8 hours 2 days ago, and that was one of the first times where I thought like, gosh, I might consider like getting one of these credit cards or trying to like integrate it into everyday spending or whatnot to get access to something because
Did
you're
you go?
stuck.
Did you go to that sushi place I told you about?
Oh no, I just
Okay,
spent time at the gate.
Boah, that sounds brutal.
it does sound
Yep.
brutal. I would have picked you up and taken you out if I had known you were going to be in Atlanta for 8 hours.
Yeah, I thought you were way further from Atlanta. I thought you were like 3-4 hours away.
No, and I have so many friends in Atlanta, dude. Could have had you at the strip club instead of at the gate.
Sir, this is a PG-13 podcast.
Well, yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
why I
let's have
said
a look at the chart.
We'll do it next time. I'm sure about that. But yeah,
Yeah,
looking at price charts, we sold off pretty heavily over the last couple of days. So on the 1 month, we are down a lot. We had a brief recovery rally up to 97K in mid-January, and ever since we declined, bottoming at the upper 74Ks. That was a few hours ago this morning, Europe time. So what are you guys making of this market? How are you guys positioned? Are you still exposed to crypto? Have you bought the dip? What is your outlook for the coming days, weeks, and months?
Interesting. Like really, like I wasn't like too attached to it because I sold actually almost everything I had. Like a couple of days ago. Now I realized that this was a relatively smart idea. But yeah, I don't like I wouldn't like even though currently like as of now I'm not that exposed to the market. I would say this was like expected because I think I don't I can't remind I can't remind which I can't remember which article it was, but there have been a lot of articles stating about these long positions using leverage. So I think this brutal price collapse is, yeah, I think nature healing kind of a thing. We had like a lot of long positions there in the market using a lot of leverage. And I think a lot of people were like expecting, okay, never ever we will see Bitcoin again under like 80K. There were even people saying, okay, that's the last time you can buy Bitcoin around the 100K mark. And all of a sudden, it turns out that these levels are tested again, which is a good thing, I guess, because again, there was a lot of leverage in the market. Now it collapsed. Bitcoin is the big boss, so it drags a lot of altcoins with it. So I think the same procedure is always no.
Yeah, I mean, I sold once Bitcoin broke 96. That was like my big level. That happened while we were in Argentina, Yuri. I sold everything except Hyperliquid. And so I am like sort of looking for dips. I am like pretty interested in starting to accumulate things. I have a short list of things that I'm going to try to accumulate over the next however long we get lower. So yeah, I'm actually starting to get. I haven't been interested. I've been like off, been hanging out with family and friends. But I think it's time to start paying attention to like getting some good entries on some things that I want to hold long term or at least like mid term.
What are these coins like? Is it mostly majors, or are you trying to like focus on the revenue generating coins, so the very few actually functioning businesses in crypto? Is there still any
Yeah.
attention of yours on the infra side of things, or how are you looking at your watch list right now?
I feel like in general, like the L1 trade is dead. And so like, that doesn't mean like there won't be other like sort of L1 trades that pop up, but I think that those are going to happen in really bullish market conditions. So, Bitcoin, the problem with this Bitcoin chart is like Bitcoin could go to 110 and it still just sort of look like an inverse head and shoulders is going to like come back down, So like, I think like Bitcoin and ETH and like the majors have like so much work to do before they could start having bullish looking charts again, that those aren't really things I'm interested in. And like once those got bullish again, then I would be interested in like trading a whole, host of different assets. But right now I think the revenue trade is still the trade, like this sort of like hype pump barbell that we've been talking about for a year. I mean, if you look at the relative strength, I don't know if you can pull up the hype Bitcoin chart, but it looks fucking unbelievable. And so hype is, I think, like number one. I think I'm thinking about hype in this Bitcoin downtrend, like Binance traded in 2018. While Bitcoin and ETH went down sideways, almost did nothing. BNB, went from $2 to $400 or something, and then like Cardano at that same time was sort of on this like 2 cents to 1 cent run. So I think there's going to be outliers, and so those are the things that like I'm excited to trade with. I'm just like purely long hype right now. I don't have like not like farming anything else by being like short on another perp dex or anything. I'm just sort of like long hype and K hype. Kinetic over at Hype is like also probably one of like the best looking charts in crypto. I know we've talked about that in the dojo a little bit, Max. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm also still really stoked about SETA. I've been like slowly sort of, a couple hundred bucks here and there, like not much, not totally convinced, but yeah, generally really excited about Hype. All of the SETA stuff is pretty cool. We can talk about that if you want, but basically it's the underlying infrastructure for all of the HIP3 markets, which I think you saw like HIP3 coming online so slowly. Everyone like expected it to happen faster, and then that didn't happen. It sort of was a slow buildup. And then we had the big metals run on Hyperliquid, billions and billions of open interest and trading volume on the metals. So I think we're going to see that more and more. Anything like in the real world that is exciting, any stocks, could think about like the SpaceX IPO coming up this year sometime, things like that. I think that when those are traded on chain, I think we're going to see it all happen on Hyperliquid, and that volume just adds to the buy pressure and keeps things rolling over there. So I think it's pretty exciting. It's like Yuri was saying, like there's been a ton of noise washed out of the market, And I think it's a good time to pay attention to like cool stuff, charts that look good, and projects that are actually accomplishing their missions.
Hmm. Yeah, I've seen a few people who are slowly getting interested in crypto again. One of the very few who managed to scale out, maybe not at the Pico top, but at least above the 100K mark for Bitcoin. I just watched a Taiki video earlier. I mean, he got mocked by a lot of people end of last year when he was kind of confused or uncertain about the direction of where he wanted to take his investing style, and also going along with that his content. And he dabbled in meme coins, then reverted back to Maker. But ultimately, the trade that now brought him a very large win was to short ETH over the past couple of months. And I mean, he's been doing phenomenally well with that. I think on variational, one of the perp dexes, he has a cumulative P&L of above 1.1 million. I mean, he's not a super small fish. But I would like guesstimate him to be somewhere in the mid 7-figure port range, maybe lower 8-figure. So to accumulate a 1.1 million P&L there, and assuming that this is not through delta neutral trades where he took the other side on other perp dexes to farm them, that is a pretty significant win for him nevertheless. And he's been holding that ETH short for several weeks now. I think he closed it for a while when it was rebounding, but then he opened it again. And I mean, that's a pretty big win, but now even he is starting to slowly prepare for sentiment flipping and looking at it to bottom. I think that it's always much nicer to have the people who actively hold shorts or have held shorts flip bullish again, or the ones who sold, rather than just listening to all the perma bulls who are saying, well, now this is the time to buy. And essentially they're yelling from the roof to buy every dip, but there's not really any signal in that. And a lot of these people have become a little more quiet over the past couple of days. I would sense that there's somewhat of a capitulation sentiment in the markets. I'm not 100% sure if this is like the bottom. I have no edge to judge over that, but I do think we are certainly closer to the bottom than to the top. And yeah, I do think that going forward for this year, but perhaps also for next year, unless something fundamentally changes about the structure of crypto markets and the type of market participants, capital inflows, etc., it is going to be BTC and a very concentrated, very selected portfolio of altcoins going forward. I align a lot with you, Danny, on the hyperliquid side, and also when it comes to revenue generating DeFi coins. I find Pendle still very interesting. I find Syrup very interesting. Maybe Aerodrome. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on them with their expansion over to ETH mainnet. Maybe the likes of Aave are going to manage to turn around. I try to keep an eye on all the things that are generating revenue right now. Not necessarily all of these that are functional businesses in DeFi have it already tied directly to their tokens. So there is still a lot of room for improvement there to really make the token reflective of how the company and the project is doing. Um, and I would also try to keep an eye on everything that has the potential to get integrated into traditional finance products to expand their product suite, particularly lending markets and anything that has to do with crypto neo banking or crypto credit cards.
That's cool. Well, one thing you didn't mention was the privacy narrative. You know, we saw sort of a run up at the end of the cycle there where Zcash and Monero outperformed everything. All of the other sort of privacy plays, the smaller ones, basically got no attention. Everyone thought they were going to run up and then they didn't. So that's like just one other thing that I'm looking for good entries on, as well as like buying miners for both, and something I'm like excited about long term. So, you know, I think it's time to like, I mean, this being the exact bottom and then like we just run up into the rest of the year just seems like so unbelievably like doesn't make any sense. You know, I think like we're literally still like washing out from whatever the hell happened on October 10th of 25, which basically destroyed the alt market. So I think this is time to like make a short list of things you want to accumulate, and then like don't buy until you get those levels. And that's really all you can do. It doesn't make any sense. Like I don't see I don't see Bitcoin going to like 30K or 40K. Sort of see the bottom, somewhere in the 60s, low 60s, mid 60s. A lot of traders are looking at the 100-day moving average on the weekly as sort of like a maybe that's around where we'll find the bottom. And so I kind of tend to agree. I think in general, maybe a little lower, maybe not, but we probably chop for a very long time until there's some dramatic changes in the world. We're like investors like no chaos, and like we still have this president in the US who is like the harbiter of chaos. We've been saying this for over a year, where it's like it's just really difficult to make bets on either side anywhere because we're always like 3 days away from another war. We're always like 3 days away from just something insane happening. So I definitely think like crypto in general is on hard mode for trading and predicting what's going to happen.
Especially there's like the thing like the attention span, right? And I think this is like something that investors generally struggle with right now. Where to shift the attention to. I think crypto has a super hard time. It's like this old, boring blockchain tech, so to say. I don't mean this in a bad or arrogant way or something, but if you're like coming from the outside, it's nothing that really excites you because nothing much has happened in the industry in the past 4 years. I think we have to be that honest to admit that. I mean, compared to the jumps that we experienced between, for example, 2018, 2019, and 2021 were just gigantic. If we look, okay, we saw NFTs emerging, we saw DeFi activity reaching new highs, we saw discussions around adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender in some countries. So these were like massive developments. And from 2023 to now, we just said, hey, yeah, we built cool infra and we have legal clarity, certainty. Like people don't spend or like don't focus on these news. They don't spend any attention on that if there's wars going on left and right and AI taking over. All of us, we only have 24 hours a day. So I think the attention span is also what crypto has to consider if we want to have like an industry where we attract new builders, new talents, build cool stuff, and basically go back to, a similar ecosystem what we have seen in 2021. But to be very honest, I don't think that we will ever return to this point where we have like this flourishing ecosystem and we are all builders and humbaya, we are all friends, and we talk about chain decentralization. I think these times are clearly over, and right now blockchain and crypto generally has to prove itself that there's a reason why it should actually exist in this crazy world that we experience right now, as harsh as it might sound.
I'd like to disagree a little bit there when it comes to the whole development of the industry. I would argue that in 2024 and 2025, we have seen much more meaningful confirmation that our industry is now one of the relevant players, and we've seen much more acceptance into fintechs and into traditional finance than we have seen between 2021 and 2023. But
Such
I would,
as
well, I mean, all the stablecoin integrations by large banks, stuff like the Robinhood L2 tokenized stocks. These are all things that have not really even been, realistic in immediate.
from what it looks like is that's not necessarily what we have built or like what we aim to design. At the end of the day, we basically see like all of these big guys coming and say, okay, nice what you built here, kids. Let us take over here. this is like what this entire matter is all about. I mean, after all of these years of innovation and discussions, do we really now come back to the point and say, oh, we build centralized stablecoins, which is essentially like, yes, people call it stablecoins, but you could also just call it digital USD. And there are like certain abbreviations of it.
Yeah,
I think
there's
You know what I'm saying?
to that point for sure. I mean, have some of the original values of crypto been betrayed, or have they been made second priority? Absolutely. Yet all of the signs of adoption in terms of banks, fintechs, and even some governments being more friendly towards Bitcoin and crypto as an industry that we've dreamt of in 2021, most of these things have come true. On the side of retail adoption, we've completely failed. I would agree with that. I mean, it's not been normalized to interact on native DeFi, knowing that it is running on DeFi rails. I would say quite the opposite of that. I would say the number of actual on-chain participants has been down only, at least ever since the meme coin craze of late 2024.
Well, the thing is it just turned out that everyone was building the wrong thing. Everyone like raising a bunch of money and spinning up a new L1, thinking that block space is the new oil and you're going to start competing with Ethereum and the Bitcoin network was just a stupid idea. Okay. And so now you have projects like Canton that have come out and they're settling and being like a clearinghouse, doing hundreds of billions of dollars of volume on their network because they understood right away that people like big banks, traditional finance folks wouldn't want to trade on an open ledger, that they're going to want privacy through all of their transactions. And so just by Canton like fixing that, understanding what their customers are really going to want, and then going after those customers, they're already becoming like one of the most successful projects in crypto, even though people aren't hearing about them because they don't do like Twitter spaces with a bunch of bored apes. But I think in general, the people were building the wrong thing. You know, like they were building something that isn't interesting. They were building something without a use case. They were building something without like true innovation. And so it's just time for us to realize that some of those were just stupid ideas and we shouldn't have invested in them. And they were all built on hype. But as all that noise clears, we can start to look at some of the projects that have product market fit, that have like really innovated in cool ways, and just invest in those and pick the winners. You know, we're at this moment that the internet went through. You know, like I lived through like the Amazon and pet.com bubble and all that shit. I was 16 and already paying attention to markets. And it's the same thing. There's going to be massive winners that come out of this industry. It just happens to be on hard mode now, and people are going to have to do research and actually pick the top projects instead of every single thing goes up like in 21.
May I add to that? But here's like this important thing. I love the analogy to Amazon actually, because what happened to Amazon throughout this tech bear market in the early 2000s was also that Amazon really, really struggled. So now in hindsight, everyone is like, okay, yeah, of course, Amazon won, but Amazon really, really struggled. I listened to a very interesting podcast about that recently, and Amazon really was on the verge of running out of money. And also, Amazon basically needed to justify its existence, and it mastered it. It's like one of the biggest companies in the world. What I want to say with that is that we as an industry should really ask ourselves really, really critical questions, if that makes sense. Like, what are we building here? Is there actually demand for what we are building? Because exactly what you just said, Farmer, is what we didn't do in 2022, 2023, 2024. We just said, oh, we are building a lot of infra because block space is the new oil, but there was no demand for it. not at all. And even like 2 years further down the line, there was no demand for it. So this is exactly the question we should ask ourselves. Is there like from project to project, from layer one to layer one, from ecosystem to ecosystem, why should this thing exist? And if we don't do that and basically stay in our comfy bubble of we're traveling to a bunch of events every year and talk about how awesome everything is and that everything is just, a buying opportunity, I think this won't move the needle. I think exactly this Amazon analogy is what we need. We need to ask ourselves super critical questions now.
Maybe Juri, from your perspective, because you have kind of withdrawn from the whole on-chain activity, trying to be in the industry 24/7 and like jumping on every single trend. So you probably can judge it much better than Farmer and I from like a zoomed out perspective. What are the things in crypto that you would still be optimistic about?
I mean, of course, networks like Canton are currently relevant because there's a use case for it, 100%. I definitely give you that. I give you the stablecoin aspect, even though I would argue that this is not really the crypto thing that we thought about when entering the industry, right? Yes, there are like still a lot of these super big players that I'm also super interested in because it's like a product that proved themselves, which is Aave. Like products like Aave still work, still drive a lot of attention and activity. This is like something that I watch very closely because if we look back how far Aave has gotten, it's like just amazing to see that. There are definitely a couple of DeFi protocols like surprise, surprise, blockchain was designed for finance. So these are like doing well. And to that question, yes, I think if we really think about who would benefit from like the most from these systems, it's like unbanked people. This is what we talked about in 2020, 2021, and we completely lost the plot. I mean, Bankless is called Bankless for a reason, like the famous podcast. And now they just talk about how awesome Tom Lee is whenever he buys an ETH back. That's like not the core concept of what we imagined, I would say. So I think we should definitely go back to this and look at this because there is a pressing need for decentralized finance, especially in a world where a lot of authorities are taking over and can shut down your bank account if you don't do the things they would like you to do. Freedom is not something that's for granted. And this is exactly where the big use case for blockchain technology is. And I don't understand why people don't see that and go basically back to the basics. The basics of blockchain technology is something amazing. And then last but not least, AI to prove source code. That AI is getting better and better and better. You need to double check if that's if a video is real or if it's AI generated, and blockchain can help to verify that code. So these are like the 2 or 3 main pillars, but I don't think that I drop like any hot topics here. But this is how I would view it, and this is like still my hope for this industry. But again, we have to ask these super critical questions and don't go back and forth and say, hey, in 2 years the world will look different for crypto. I don't think that this is going to work.
On the note of Tom Lee, he's currently sitting at, I think, somewhere between 4 to 6 billion in unrealized losses.
I think it's 9 billion now.
9 billion?
And he bought today. He bought the dip today.
The fifth number, I think the fifth number is it's the fifth worst trade of all time.
Well, I mean, he hasn't realized
like
it yet. He hasn't
realized it yet.
Into that
That's
list,
right.
you have to realize it.
That's true.
I don't know. I mean, his ETH DAT is probably one of those that is pretty secure for the next 1 to 2 years when it comes to paying back their debts. I really want to better understand how likely an actual unwinding of DATs is in the short to midterm, because you see a lot of people who are bearish about crypto talk about it, but I mean, to be frank, most of these appear to be somewhat secure over the immediate term, speaking the next couple of months, because they all have to pay back their loans only in late 2026 or 2027.
Yeah, I mean, we have Sailor is sitting underneath his average price entry. He's finally down, right? That was like right there around 76K, which we hit last night. Maybe it's like right back above it now. So that's a really interesting level that everybody's been looking at. But yeah, Sailor, Tom Lee, they're probably like the best versions of a DAT, right? For all of the there's a lot of other DATs and they're all underwater. And so I do think we start seeing some of the less capitalized ones unwind and go belly up soon. Surely not all of them could withstand this for that long. Like you're saying, you think 1 or 2 years or 1 or 2 months, I'm not sure. I think by summer we start seeing several of these project DATs unwind. And also from the beginning, we've all just been saying this is a stupid idea. These aren't, it doesn't make any sense not to hold the underlying and hold some weird holding companies stock instead. It doesn't make any sense. The mining stocks make sense. Several of those things make sense. The DATs really never made sense to anyone who was crypto native. It just seemed like a weird, pointless financial instrument.
Yeah, we talked about this last summer, Max. I remember this episode where I really asked, what the fuck are these chains doing? They were saying, oh, there's going to be, I won't call the names, but you can look them up, random ass layer ones with literally, I think, 3 projects building on them, with 2 people using the chain. So with almost 0 activity, thinking, oh, we need to build an investment vehicle for institutional investors to buy our stupid coin. Why? You don't have any traction. You don't have any demand. You just raised I don't know, 100 million or even more. Why do you need to, sell this one again? I mean, of course, you want to sell it again to, counterfight price pressure to the downside, of course. But nobody was building shit. Nobody was just trying to, massage the Fugazi numbers. This is what happened. And I'm very happy that it finally collapses because, we really need to learn the lessons as an industry.
It still feels I think it's going to cause a lot of turmoil still. I think we're just starting to see having these conversations about what DAT unwindings look like and how much ETH and BTC and Solana and whatever else DATs were created for, what that looks like and how it affects the market. But I think it's all, it doesn't really change the outlook that I think we're sort of down, chopped down, for a long time. It doesn't seem like this is just going to be some V reversal back into all-time highs anytime soon. So I think we have plenty of time to kind of let it all wash out and start to slowly place our bets. But one interesting thing, I'm sure Yuri, you haven't been. I'd like Max at some point to talk about AI and the AI use case and everything that happened this week on Base.